Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Cougar, the Bitch, and the Wardrobe. I'm your host, Lana, also known as Curated by the Cougar. I want to welcome my listeners here today to discuss a topic that I have decided is called When You Are Full of Love, It Confuses Those Who Are Full of Shit. And what I mean by that, it is slightly, with a tinge of humor. But when I say full of love, I don't just mean romantic love, like I'm in love with this person. I love you. I love you. No, like love being what is inside you. Are you that type of person that is full of light and joy and happiness, and people feel that way when they're around you? And there are those that are just really full of shit, and they might appear to be on that level with you, but they really are not. And again, even for those individuals that I'm speaking about today that are full of joy, of course, that doesn't mean 24/7. I mean, that would be crazy because we all experience the highs and lows of life, the stressors. We all have triggers, things that make us happy, sad, or anxious. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, we all have a certain aura, a certain energy that we bring. And for those people that truly and genuinely are that way, there are individuals that want to be around someone like that. And I like to refer to those people as full of shit or energy vampires. So, meaning these individuals truly want to be around someone who's naturally joyful and energetic, and they just want to suck that energy, suck that joy, suck that love, that life right out of you. So let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about it so that way it makes, I guess, more sense. Those of you out there might be listening to me right now and being like, yes, I totally get what she's saying. But it might be a little bit confusing because how can you tell the difference? And it's hard sometimes. And again, as I mentioned, it's not just romantic love, it's being around friends, family members, people that coworkers, people that you interact with on a daily basis. Are those individuals full of love, or are they full of shit? And if they're full of shit, are they trying to suck that love and energy from you? When we talk about love and again, that feeling of positivity, and what is unconditional love. Now, unconditional love is one of those things that I think exists between myself and my dogs. And unconditional love, I think, is something that exists between um, a parent and a child. So I have unconditional love for my children, regardless of if they drive me nuts and, annoy the crap out of me on a certain day. But like, I love them, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they, are driving me nuts, or they're making things really difficult for me on a certain day and creating a lot of stress. I love them no matter what. So that to me is unconditional love. And like I said, that's, I think, for me, the two ways that it exists between myself and my dogs and myself and my children. But, as human beings, we are always looking for people that we can truly be ourselves around. And I think quite often we ignore signals from our nervous system. And what do I mean by that? So let's say there's a friend that you get together with, you know, not that often, but you catch up with that person every month or every couple of months. Or maybe this person you see more often than that. But when you are about to see that individual, you feel already emotionally spent, emotionally exhausted. They are triggering something inside you that you don't really know why this is happening, but your body is trying to tell you something. It's like this primal behavior, like you're almost going into fight or flight. Now, I think quite often we ignore those signals and we say, it's not a big deal. I maybe it's just me when I see this person, it's fine. But there has to be something that's going on there. And so I invite all of you right now to think about that. Is there someone in your life where, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner, a husband, a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. This can be literally anybody that you might spend time with. And you get this anticipatory anxiety. And when you think about it, you might say to yourself, well, I don't really know why this is happening because when I'm with so and so, it's pleasant enough. The conversation is fine. Maybe that person might have said something in the past to you that rubbed you the wrong way, but you kind of just ignore you ignored it. And so now on every occasion after that when you are looking to see that person, you feel uncomfortable. And and so that's when I think to myself, is this person, like I said, like an energy vampire? Are they presenting themselves in a certain way, but they're sucking your energy from you? Also, are they full of shit? Are they presenting to be a certain way, but your gut, your your soul is telling you that this person isn't who they really say that they are. And so it puts you in this fight or flight kind of situation. And I had a situation with a friend of mine, someone that I met when shortly after I moved to Montclair, and she has children similar ages to mine. And when I met her, I thought, wow, this person is so like cool and laid back and so confident in herself. And she's just like this really interesting kind of person. And I felt like we had things in common because she had recently also gone through a divorce, and we would send each other like, things that we found on Instagram that we thought would help the other one out with things about divorce and being single and dating and being a mom. And she's not someone that I necessarily socialized with that often. And last January, we decided, okay, we're going to hang out and like go out to dinner and like go to this bar that had live music. And she and I couldn't be more different from one another. She's very outdoorsy. I am not. She I'm really into fashion, she is not. But again, I'm all about surrounding myself with all different types of people. If I was only with people that were just like me with the same interests, I mean, that makes life boring. And I had thought for a long time that she and I were on the same page and vibing the same way. But then that night, something clicked for me when we hung out that I realized that maybe it's more, or it's been more for her, like misery loves company. So as long as there was someone else that was going through the same thing, that she felt, oh, okay, Lana must be miserable too. And, she's also going through this divorce and she's going through the challenges of dating. So even though it felt like camaraderie, it wasn't. And I realized also that night that when we were together, and I rarely am in a situation with people, especially friends, where I feel uncomfortable and that the conversation is not flowing. And I really felt like I couldn't just be myself. And it was because she, well, vocally judged me. I went to pick her up in an Uber and she said to me, why do you always have to be like 175% when you go out at night, meaning like the way that I dressed. And it wasn't like, oh my God, you look fabulous. You're like 175%, and I love what you bring to the table. No, it wasn't said like that. And in my mind, I'm like, why do you bring 23% to the table? But obviously, I don't say that because I don't expect that she and I are going to have the same views when it comes to that, because we never did. And we have different ways of self expression. But it was said in such a way that it was just like nasty. And I ignored it. And then later on in the night, she said something about my shoes because I was wearing like these cute, like sparkly mesh booties. And she's like, why are you wearing mesh booties? And in my mind, I'm like, because they go great with my outfit. Like, why else? But again, it was so, I guess, like not what I was expecting to come out of her mouth, or not expecting to come from that evening. But then I realized that no, it was very much in line with how our friendship had been going, because the time when I felt closest to her, or when she valued me the most, was when she was at her lowest. So when she first was going through her divorce and was trying to navigate that as a single mom with two young kids. She was also at this crossroads with being a stay at home mom and now becoming a professional. And I always gave her so much credit that she decided to pursue a career and went from not knowing a lot about that career and now is an expert in it. And I always thought that was so amazing. And I was there for her through every little step of the way. And then, same thing when she started dating this guy, and it was very fraught with passion. And, and he was in another relationship and sort of helping her navigate through her feelings and her love for this guy. And I realized that that was what our friendship was built on. But then, as soon as maybe I had this turning point for myself, where now I'm divorced and I'm in a much better place in my life, she didn't know what to do with me. And so all of that support support that she was providing to me, I realized was so disingenuous and full of shit. So I think that is a good example of what that can look like in friendship. And I think sometimes we ignore the messages that our body is sending us. And I think sometimes, because I don't like to say all of the time about something, but I do think that we need to listen to our bodies more often than listening to our minds, because our mind, our brains will talk us in or out of something in a way that may or may not benefit us. But there's something primal and deep inside all of us that lets us know when something doesn't feel right and something doesn't sit right. And I read something recently about being in a romantic relationship, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, and what it feels like to sleep next to that person at night. Let's put aside any like snoring or restless leg syndrome, but I'm talking about how does it feel to sleep next to that person? Is your body able to relax and you can feel safe and comfortable and you're breathing and you eventually can drift off asleep? Or are you feeling anxious and nervous and you really are not having any type of real REM sleep? Because I think that if you can sleep well next to someone in that way, again, that is a very primal feeling that comes from inside. Because you could be sleeping next to that person or laying next to that person, and your body just can't relax. Your brain will try to talk you into or out of whatever you're trying to convince yourself of in that moment, but your body knows what's going on. So, like when people say you got to trust your gut, you got to trust your gut. I think sometimes our bodies are m- much more intuitive and a lot smarter than our brains. And again, we could be in a situation with someone, maybe it is someone that you're dating, and this person presents themselves in a certain way. They can be very charming and very smart and know what to say or do to make you go out with them, make you sleep with them, have sex with them, whatever it is. And that is a form of manipulation when someone knows how to present that side of themselves that they know can entice another person, but then that's not really who they are. And I just experienced this with a friend of mine over the last few days. She met someone a month ago. She lives here. He lives not here. I'm just going to put it that way, just to, keep things anonymous. And he was smitten with her. So they met and he went back home. And for a month, he has been calling her, texting her, like being this like source of emotional support and friendship that was really like a beautiful thing to experience and and watch happen. And of course, I was thrilled for my friend. She deserves that. And so I was very happy for her. Then, so a month goes by and he comes back into town and we all went to a birthday party together. And it was like a switch. So now he thought, okay, I've got her wrapped around my finger. And when he slowly started to reveal who he is, he just came off as this very manipulative and macho, just like, I'm being kind here, but he was just an asshole. And we realized that, you know, I don't know, like maybe it had fed his ego that he was able to hook my friend into this whole thing. She's beautiful and smart and energetic and draws people in with her beautiful spirit. And I think that he realized that, I don't know, like maybe like he would be somehow unmasked. And he was, because we were at this party together and he wanted to control who she was speaking to. I mean, while they're not in a relationship, I mean, this is literally a month after them first meeting. And he didn't want her talking to certain people. He told her that she was embarrassing him because she, he thought she was being flirtatious, but no, she's just being herself and engaging with people at this party. It was so ridiculous. And I realized that he had been unmasked, that this person that just seemed so warm and caring and loving and supportive was really just full of shit the whole time. And so these are the situations that I don't know why I'm surprised when these things happen, because look, human beings are complex. We are complex. And there are many, many layers to who we are. And again, we don't know what goes on for people behind closed doors. And everyone has had different life experiences that have ultimately shaped them and have ultimately dictated how they treat others. But I guess I'm still always, I'm always unfortunately shocked and surprised that I find that people really show their true colors when something really good happens to you or when something really bad happens to you. And and what I mean by that is something really wonderful can happen and that person that you feel was your best friend and should be really excited for you ultimately doesn't know how to celebrate your wins. And it just comes from this deep rooted place of jealousy. And jealousy is such an ugly, ugly trait. And I remember experiencing this when I got married. Actually, both times that I got married, that I had friends. I had this one friend in particular that she just couldn't be happy for me, especially when I got married the second time because she had never been married before. And she made some remark. I remember, like, oh, well, your ring is so much better this time than the last time. So it's good that you got married again. But like, who says something like that unless you're really just focused on that? And it was just such a weird thing to say. Not like, oh, Lana, I'm so happy for you. And yes, your ring is beautiful. But you had to like somehow throw in like a dig. And I ignored it, even though there had been so many signs along the way. And now, years later, I have nothing to do with this person. So it's those signs that we ignore. And again, we ignore them perhaps. I know I ignore those signs because I expect people to be better, I guess, or I look for the best in people. I ultimately want to give them the opportunity to, you know, prove me wrong. And then it's disappointing when they don't, because I don't want to walk away from a situation or a person thinking, I knew it. I knew it all along. No, I want to be proven wrong. So I just think that that's something, unfortunately, that I've experienced in life. And then it's also, there are those individuals that are really just there, sort of as like fair weather friends. They're really just there for the good times. And they might say, I'm there for you, or if you need anything. But again, it's disingenuous. Um, and as I say, full of shit, because then when something happens where you actually need that person to step up and they don't, you realize that that person maybe just wants to, again, like an energy vampire. You might be living your best life and feeling good about yourself. And so you have that effect on others where they want to be around you because they don't feel that way. And so they want to take that feeling, they want to take that energy from you. They want that feeling inside them. And as we know, that never works. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to choose that for yourself. And I think that there are those type of people out there that just are so forthcoming. They will see you and say, wow, like you look great today, or I love your hair, or I love your shoes, or your outfit looks great, or your skin looks beautiful. Or my favorite is when someone tells me that I look really fit or strong. That's my favorite thing to hear. And that's just such a nice thing. And especially when it's like comes out of nowhere and it's completely unsolicited, makes you feel like $1,000,000. And then I want to do that for someone else. Like, and again, it doesn't come from a place of trying to fulfill something inside me, but it's really just wanting to support other people. And maybe your kind word to someone or my kind word to someone helps them have a better day. And I think about that all the time, especially with the crazy world that we live in. We need more positivity and more people that are full of love and not full of shit. And I experienced something this past weekend at my high school reunion, which was really so meaningful and beautiful. That this woman who, I mean, the last time I saw her was probably at my 20-year reunion. And before that, I probably hadn't seen her since we graduated high school. And she said to me at the reunion that she loves the content that I'm putting out there. She loves my podcast. And that when she's having a bad day, she'll listen to something that I've put out there or remind herself of something that I've said. And it helps her have a better day. And that meant the world to me. Completely unsolicited. She just came up to me and told me that. And I realized in that moment that I found my calling, because if I'm helping someone in that way, I don't know, that's all I need. And it made it was just so meaningful for me. And again, I think that the spoken word, a kindness that you impart to someone really speaks volumes to that person. And so we have to choose our words wisely, and we have to think about our behaviors and how that affects someone, because it's very hard to forget a spoken word or forget an action that might have hurt someone. And I even think sometimes to myself that I had been with my ex husband for 12, 13 years, including the time that we dated. And in that period of time, I never received one compliment from his sister. And it's funny how the not saying anything at all is just as bad in a way as saying something nasty. Because for me, I always, if I saw her and I thought she looked great, or her hair looked great, or her makeup, or an outfit, I just told her, because why not? Like it makes someone feel good and puts a smile on their face. And then realizing that not even on my wedding day could she even utter some sort of compliment. I just don't get it, because it's, again, you want it to come from a genuine place, because there are people that, again, just speak and have verbal diarrhea, and it's very obvious that even though they might be spouting all these niceties, they may not actually mean it. And there are people that just want to people please, and it feeds their ego, or it's more important to them to be well liked versus being a genuine person. So again, there is a way of communicating with people, um and presenting who you are and how you want to make someone feel. I do always like to mention that, whether it be in a romantic relationship, friendship, a platonic relationship, family, whatever it is, it's really important as a form of self care and self love to create boundaries and be aware, as I mentioned, how someone might be making you feel, how their body language, their energy, again, how is it making you feel in your body? Is your body trying to tell you something and your brain is trying to talk you out of it? It's important to be aware of that, because um, we are all busy individuals, and we want to spend our time with people that we surround ourselves with. Again, not everything is going to be flowers and candy all the time, but we want to make sure that we are giving our love and also receiving love in return. And love, meaning it can be romantic love, it can be energy, friendship, encouragement, positive vibes. That to me is, are you a person that's full of love, full of those positive emotions that you exude and that you want to share with others? And I think also, in conclusion today, it is important to recognize love amidst the confusing behaviors, words of others. And sometimes it is hard to decipher what is genuine and what is not, what feels good in our bodies and what doesn't. So I do encourage my listeners to self reflect in times of confusion, whether it's with a romantic partner, friend, platonic relationship, and or family member. And if there is someone that you trust and you can really communicate with, maybe speak to that individual to bounce some things off of them. Because I find that, again, we try to talk ourselves out or in of certain things. So sometimes it's really helpful, yes, to self-reflect. Maybe for someone it means journaling on it, maybe it means meditating on it, maybe it means going out for a run and thinking about it, or speaking to someone who you really care about and trust, and you feel that it is mutual. I do want to encourage my listeners today to share your comments, your stories, your thoughts with me on my Instagram, which is at curated by the cougar. You can also find me on TikTok at curated by the cougar, and on YouTube at curated by the cougar. On Spotify, you can find me at the cougar, the bitch, and the wardrobe. I really also want to encourage you to like and subscribe. It really helps my podcast grow and reach other listeners that might find this message helpful and meaningful. So until next time.